Hello, welcome. This is Tips for the Transition, the Career Roadmap Show, and I'm Maria Tomás-Keegan. I want to welcome you. Thank you for joining us. I created this show to share resources that help women navigate life and career challenges more easily and to know that they're not alone. So every week we talk with inspiring women and share their expertise with women worldwide to become more confident, resilient, and brave in their careers and in their lives. So, if something strikes a chord with you as you're listening and you want more information, just check out the show notes below for various ways to connect with my guest and me. So, who loves chaos? I know from experience that chaos can be very unsettling. So, today we're going to uncover the benefits of chaos. That's right, the benefits of chaos. Our guest, Chelsea Rosner, has a unique perspective on chaos since it can become the norm in the lives of ambitious, busy women like us. But despite the chaos, Chelsea believes that gaining clarity is still possible. Clarity in chaos. I love that idea. As a business chaos strategist and clarity specialist, and a certified master life and performance push coach, Chelsea Rosner has a proven track record of helping women in business fast track their success based on their unique experiences and individuality. We'll explore how Chelsea's skills in lifestyle redesign, kinesiologist, and business rehab techniques help women showcase their most authentic selves, overcoming what's holding them back, and leveling up their alignment. By doing so, women can let their companies or careers thrive as a byproduct of living their best lives. So let's dig into this and talk with Chelsea about thriving amidst chaos. Hello, Chelsea.
Hey, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm so glad you joined us today. I've been looking forward to this conversation about finding clarity in chaos.
Yeah, it should be really enlightening. Not a lot of people can think about chaos and the concept, in a positive light. And I
Mhm.
really think that when people hear how you can actually start to take some of those things that are happening around you and, in your life and view them as how they're actually happening for you, and how they're actually designed, like by who you are and what you've done to become who you are, that it really starts to help you shed a lot of these layers of expectation and really step into a lot more alignment with anything that you're doing in life.
Yeah, that's fabulous. I can't wait to get into that. So let's start, though, with a bit of your backstory so we understand why talking about chaos is so important to you.
Yeah, so for me, I I grew up, always being an ambitious person, always wanting to be doing the next thing, and really, your stereotypical overachiever as a kid for sure. And a lot of the times that was seen as kind of a negative, and I was always kind of called the black sheep of our family for doing really positive things. And it never really resonated with me that being who I was and like going after what I wanted was a bad thing. And so really learning from, those like very early years in middle school and high school and then college and graduate school and all of that, that being myself and really, going for what I wanted was actually a really great thing. And how could all of the things that were, the obstacles and the hurdles and the things that kind of stood in my way along the way be a bad thing if they were really truly shaping who I was becoming and how I was learning to overcome and keep going for what I really wanted. And
Hmm.
so it just became a really easy way for me to start looking at, obstacles and chaos and life events. And that has really turned into being able to even see like the small, like daily things that don't quite go our way and be able to really pivot easily. And that's been able to transfer over into, my careers, my relationships, my, kids and what they're learning and how we're bringing them up. And it's just been a really beautiful way to kind of take stress or negative situations or things that give a lot of people a lot of weight to carry, and to be able to really truly say it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't.
I love this perspective. It's unique. We don't hear about this from a lot of people, because most people take on that, uh, the the stress that comes as a result of chaotic stuff happening in our lives, and we look at the problem of it rather than the positive of it. So let's talk about this unique perspective a little more, and let's talk about how we can gain more clarity despite having a lot of chaos.
Yeah. And, really now more than ever, life is changing really rapidly. I mean, even faster than pre-pandemic life, and all of the things that have changed on the daily, the weekly, the monthly, since everyone in the world's lives have been flipped upside down. And it always seems like, especially for us women, that we're expected to adapt and keep up, and not just in our own lives but in our careers, in our kids activities, in our extended friends and families activities, but also the workload, the mental load, and all of the decision making, and also the punctuality and everything else that kind of goes in with that. And really, it's hard because what if we didn't have to evolve that quickly? What if we didn't have to keep up? And what if we didn't have to adapt to like these new normals that were set for us? And on one side it's really easy to kind of say, wow, that feels really freeing and really light and amazing, and I would love to live that kind of like carefree lifestyle. And on the other side it's like, how could that ever be possible, right? And you know in some senses it may not be, because your job and your income are important, and your loved ones agendas and their activities are important. But the thing is if your brain is always on the defense, it never has time to be on the offense and to actually see what you want and how you want that pace to evolve, and how you want the world to kind of shape for the things that you actually are working for and do want to move towards in your life. So if you're always playing defense and playing catch up and really allowing like life to kind of just throw things at you and you're just adapting to what life has to offer, then you're never really truly getting a chance to sit with yourself and how you can actually shape the world around you rather than be shaped.
So, what I hear you talking about is creating for ourselves, or I like to say co creating, right? Because we're not the only creator,
Correct.
but doing it with some forethought, some vision, some intention, right?
Yeah, truly. And a lot of that comes from knowing yourself, and not just, oh, I like tacos, or hi, I have two kids, or hi. It's not the surface level things. It's truly who you are, why you are that way, what has made you that way, what do you value in life. And again, not from a superficial standpoint, but from a
Right.
truly deep, deep, like the things and the values in your life that have really shaped everything, as to who you've become, how you've become. And with those kinds of things, it's really been eye opening to help women see that who they are has been there in their highest highs and their lowest lows, no matter what. And the people you connect with the most are the people who are most like you, But a lot of the times, if we're not playing on the offensive and we're not really looking at how we can give our gifts to the world, we're not even finding the real people that we really want to even spend our real time with. And so, we kind of get, into this area where a lot of women aren't, feeling like they have this like work and outside of work, flow in life where everything is work, kids, family, job, you know, one thing or the other. And they're like, I would love to have a dream, a vision, a different career, a family, or these other things in life. But I have to kind of put those on the back burner right now. But do you? I mean, really, do we? We get to choose what's important to us and what we want to chase.
Yeah, so that's the key right there. We get to choose where we spend our time, with whom we spend our time, how we spend our energy, which is not in unlimited supply,
No, not at all. Not at all.
right?
And when we exhaust it on the things that aren't truly who we are and what we value,
Yeah.
we're just kind of just pouring our
Yeah,
water out of the bucket.
and I work all the time with my clients about what they value most
Hmm.
because those things change as we evolve, as our lives evolve, as life happens and circumstances beyond our control happen. We are in a situation where we have to either uh, feel like the victim or take control over how we adapt to that change.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And
And
knowing what we value most as things change is so important. It's foundational.
it really is. And it's really even the things and the feelings and like what we value and what we want, but it's even really a lot deeper than that, because even the things that we want, there's a reason we want them. There's a reason
Mm.
why we're drawn to that or why we're pulled to that, and really being able to explore when things change, why they've changed, but why, even if they've changed, it hasn't changed who we actually are. It's a lot of the times, I'll talk with especially women and, entrepreneurs and online business and things like that. And they'll be like, well, really, like, I've shifted what my priorities are. That's great. Priorities
Yeah,
shift all the time, and they
right,
are supposed to. Absolutely. But who we are doesn't change.
right,
And that's what a lot of women who carry a lot of stress and a lot of chaos and a lot of that extra weight of the world tend to not be able to see as clearly, is that
right,
because things change doesn't mean you actually have changed.
right. The essence of who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. That
So,
true
what
alignment.
doesn't change
Mhm.
is that I am kind,
Yeah.
that I am compassionate, that I'm an overachiever, like you said you are.
Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club, right? Yeah, there are certain things and I do think that we lose sight of those things and are not able when chaos happens, right? When we allow the chaos to consume us or to overwhelm us, when we lose sight of who we are, then we can't show up that way.
Absolutely. And it's very hard to reground ourselves within
Yeah,
ourselves if we don't have that kind of guidepost or that knowledge and that sense of our own awareness. But
right.
as soon as you do have that sense of awareness, all of a sudden you can kind of move beyond certain things a little faster, because you are so centered in who you are that everything else is a learning experience, and it feels like that.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
getting
absolutely.
grounded in who you are.
Absolutely.
So I've heard you say this, and I want to know what you mean by it. You said Chaos is the new clarity. Tell us what you mean by that.
Yeah, and
What is it? What's that? That's a spin-off on Orange is the New Black.
I guess so. I don't even know. I've never even seen the show, but
I
maybe
haven't either.
maybe somewhere that's stuck.
Yeah.
But essentially, when it looks like, who we are and what we want in life, how do we even know what that is? Well, based off of our past experiences, based off of the things that we've overcome, the challenges that we've hit, the roadblocks, the hurdles, the joy, the highs, the lows, all of those things. All of that is unique to you and unique to your own experience. That is your chaos. And your chaos is what has allowed you to be able to take steps forward to create the life that you're currently living. And it's what will continue to create and shape the life that you want in the future. So, all of that vision, all of that essence, all of that alignment, and everything that you're truly working for and towards is your clarity. And so, you can't actually get there without standing on all of the things that built you to that point. And so when I say that your chaos is the new when chaos is the new clarity, I truly mean that if you don't embrace all of the things that you're standing on at the top of the mountain, then you're never going to actually get to the top of the mountain. You're just going to keep sinking back down into all of the things. And so for me, it's not only, a fun, little saying, but it really truly is a way to embrace everything about who you are and what you want.
And the experiences that got you there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love the metaphor of the mountain that you used. That we are, if all of our experiences and all of the things we've gone through in life have that they have shaped us, and you call all of that our chaos, we are using that as our stepping stones to get up that mountain.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there are no highs without lows, and there are no lows
Right.
without highs. And so,
Or it would be awfully boring.
well, and or it just there would never actually be a high or a low because it would be perpetual state of one or the other. So you wouldn't really ever know which one you were.
Right, and that seems boring to me. That seems well. It doesn't matter what it feels like because it doesn't happen that way. Life just doesn't happen that way.
No, not intended to, that's for sure.
No, it's not intended to. I mean, the perpetual um, education journey we are on in this life. If we choose to accept that, right? If we choose to allow every experience we have to somehow influence us, right? Either
Yeah.
we decide that this is good for us and we're going to make that a part of who we are, or it's not, and we decide not to incorporate that into our lives at all. Those are the choices that we make, and all of that is what you're calling the chaos. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it's all really truly a learning curve, and it's really an eye-opening experience when you can really learn how to use all of that for, essentially your own advantage. Because, life is full of a lot of expectations, and expectations are really kind of just a one-way street to disappointment because there's really only two outcomes with an expectation. It either doesn't happen like you thought it was supposed to,
Right.
and you're left disappointed, or it does happen how it's supposed to, therefore it reinforces the expectation that it will happen again. So it's an even bigger crash when it doesn't happen the second, the third, the fourth, or the 17th time.
Yeah.
And and so really coming back to, if you know who you are and how you got to where you are, and you've built, that peace and that patience along the way, you can't really be blindsided by by your own expectations, by anyone's expectations, because you know that even if it doesn't go the way that you would have hoped, because hope is different than an expectation for sure, but then life doesn't seem to be as hard to really manage the weight of that stress. Because the weight is going to come, the stress is going to come, things are going to go crazy, they're going to spiral here and there. But how you get to choose to respond can be completely different. And it can feel completely different, even if the steps are the exact same. And it's really a choice.
And it's really a choice.
It's
Yeah.
really a choice.
Yeah. It is all a choice. And that's one of the things that I think some women I work with don't understand, that we do truly get to choose how we create our lives and stop living by other people's expectations of us.
Yeah.
That's really a trap that a lot of us get into. Well, everybody in my family is a doctor. I
Mm-hmm.
must be a doctor,
Yeah.
or they'll be disappointed in me.
Yeah.
But what if you're an artist?
Absolutely.
What if you're an artist at heart?
And that's truly where, for me, I call it a black sheep, like embracing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I talk to a lot of women and, and I'll say something along that lines and they're like, well, I've never really considered myself to be a black sheep. And I'll say, have you ever done something that your family didn't agree with? Have you ever done something in your career that, felt right, but wasn't the normal society decision? Have you ever made a different decision in your parenting for your kids based off of your friends group or how your sisters and your mom did it? And they're like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
And so very much just, that societal expectation as well as our own internal expectations.
You know, this is um this is an interesting conversation. I because I honestly have never thought of myself as a black sheep either until you just put it in those terms.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be a black sheep in everything, right?
No,
That you're an
not at all.
outcast, right?
Yeah.
Because you do everything against the norm. Some people do that. Um, but I can think now of some situations in my life where I made choices for myself that felt right for me at the time. Didn't always turn out to ultimately be the long term right thing, but they were the right thing at the time based on the information I had at the time.
Yeah.
And they were contrary to what other people thought I should do.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
proof of that is everywhere. And and again, and for me, being called the black sheep of the family for going to the top graduate program, but it was clear across the country away from anyone that I knew, which yes was a big deal, but it was the right big deal for me, and
For
how could
you.
that be wrong?
Right. Right.
So
And having the sense of confidence it takes to stand in your power to make a choice like that against what everyone else thinks you should be doing, and not second guess or doubt your choice and keep moving forward based on it, is truly the mark of a confident woman who knows who she is and what she wants.
and to me, that's honestly the definition of a black sheep. Because if you look at a literal flock of sheep and what the actual definition of a black sheep is it's someone who looks different, who chooses to, do their own thing against the, chromosomes of the herd. And because they were then seen differently, they were moved aside, and that opened the doors for them to live their own life and have their own, their own flock of other black sheeps. And so, it really isn't about being an outcast or being exiled. It really is about standing in your own power.
Yeah.
Truly.
Doing things your way because you feel guided to do them that way.
Yeah. Yeah,
In,
absolutely.
whatever your guide is, everyone has different guides.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just our gut, our intuition, it may be our faith, whatever that is. It's okay, whatever it is. So tell me how this idea of being a black sheep ties into how we perceive chaos.
Yeah, so realistically, if we have a hard time being comfortable with our own choices and the stories, that we make up in our own head kind of get in the way of how we live our day-to-day life, then we're kind of starting to tell ourselves that black sheep is a negative. And if a black sheep being, feeling is a negative, if the best decision for you feels like it's wrong because of the decisions of the other people around you, then you're not truly able to shed that weight and embrace that chaos because you're constantly doubting, like, what are other people going to think? What does this look like? How am I going to be perceived for doing this? And if you're having those doubts in your head about who you are and the choices that you want to make that are best for you, then that's not going to ever feel good. And you can't really stand on, that pile of quicksand. You can't create the mountain out of those kinds of thoughts and those kinds of feelings. And so when you really learn how to say, like, you know what, like, making this decision for me because of who I am, like, and what I want, feels really good and strong, and it's okay if some bricks are going to crumble around me, if if I choose to go this way that I feel so confidently in making, that I know that I can reinforce that foundation tenfold moving forward. And so it's not ever having to feel like things are falling out from underneath your feet. It's really about knowing where you want to go and why you want to go there. And if it feels good enough to you, then do it. Just
Yeah, I love that. You make such. I can visualize when you talk about these things. The metaphor you just used about the wall you're standing on, it could crumble underneath you, but when you are so certain about the direction you're headed in, you get to rebuild that wall with your bricks, not somebody else's.
yeah. And I don't know about you, but I will bet on myself and rebuilding that wall, and I will figure it out. And you know what? Even if it's made with plaster instead of concrete, I can go back and reinforce that along the way. I can
Right,
go back and change that
right.
out. I can go
Yep,
back and you know I can cover the whole thing in super glue if I need to, in order to really truly embrace why I want to do the things that
yep,
I want to do.
yep.
And translating that into other people who are like, wow, okay, I get it, I feel it, I hear it. How do I go live, like, how do I go live that, like, how do I you know get off of here and really say, gosh, my life feels like I'm standing on that quicksand, like,
Right,
what
or that
what
crumbling wall. Yes,
yeah. And for them, it's really a matter of, like, why are you standing on the wall in the first place? And if the answer is not powerful enough, you either find a more powerful answer based off of you, no one else. It's not really about your family or money or things like that, but why are you on the wall? Why are you in that career? Why did you make those choices? Like, what about you said, I'm going to do this thing, like, right here? And once you know the answer to that, you may go find a new wall. You may go build a whole new wall. And
right.
that's beautiful. But essentially, you have to know, because if you don't know, it's never going to be strong enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Ever.
So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how this being the black sheep, um, and your chaos has shaped your life. Tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, I really think that a lot of it for me, it started as a kid, having my family dynamics change and never really knowing, having any answers or any real life experience with that. But then learning that, you know, as an adult, why would I want to go back and change the way any of my life had been if that's who made me who I am now? And even if, the things that I did were in spite of or because of or shaped by, my influences even as a child, I why would I want to go back and trade those if that's what gave me the interdependence, the confidence, and really the ability to trust my own intuition and to trust my own gut. I wouldn't trade any of those three things for just about anything. And so I'm really proud of the life experiences because they gave me those gifts.
Yeah. And so it occurs to me that there might be some people out there who are thinking, but what if I don't like who I am as a because they're not looking at those experiences in a positive way, right?
Yeah.
So how do they turn that around?
Yeah. And, part of it is identifying it. Identify what your chaos is. What's your positive chaos? What's your negative chaos? And,
I
when
love
you,
that distinction, the positive chaos and the negative chaos.
oh, yeah, like my husband travels 20 days a month and I am home with our two small children by myself. That is positive chaos. I love every single second of it. It is chaotic, but it's beautiful. And so for me, that's very much positive chaos. But you have to be able to identify like what's your positive chaos and what's your negative chaos. And there can be negative chaos inside your positive things. And it's really truly like what pushes your buttons, what pushes your limits, what pushes your boundaries, but also what pushes your joy, what pushes you to feel more aligned, what pushes you to really like light up. And when you can start to kind of see these things and write them down, like visualize them, put them on paper, because when you can go back and see it in such like concrete black and white, you can say, okay, you know what, like giving up my career to be at home with my kids, like why is that positive? Why is that a good thing? Yeah, there's a whole list of negative emotions and feelings that can come with that, but what does that actually bring me and why is that important to me? And how is who I am intertwined into this? And I feel like sometimes that's the hardest part for people to really feel and see, because who we are at our very, very deepest levels has to play a role for in order for chaos to be positive. Because it would be very easy for me to say, like, oh, I'm an optimistic person. Like, I'll figure out this parenting, two small children thing, solo all the time by myself. No big deal. Well, let me tell you, that leads to a lot of burnout and second guessing and, not so good, feelings if you're just thinking very surface level. But when I think about the fact that who I am is an ambitious person, we talked about the Overachievers Club, who I am is a very ambitious person. And why I'm an ambitious person and why that's such a beautiful thing and what that allows me to create for myself and for those around me, including my kids, including, all the passions that I have in life. And it starts to get really beautiful. And then I can go back and look at transitioning into, giving up career life for, staying home with my kids to this really powerful thing that actually was already inside of me. And I'm already there and I'm already doing it. But now it feels like a true gift because I was actually already truly equipped to do this, which means now it's really positive chaos, all of it. And that allows me to then say, so how can I make this even more fun? How can I make this even more enjoyable? How can I make this even brighter, bigger, bolder, more exciting, or, whatever that feeling is that you're looking for in whatever your positive or negative chaos may be. But truly being able to identify those things is really that first kind of tipping point, Because it's one thing to say my life is busy, my life is stressed, like I carry the weight of the world on my shoulders, I have a lot going on, X, Y, Z, A, B, and C, all the things that we like to do to introduce ourselves, to people, to tell them like, hi, I am this person, but I'm also all of this stress. And if you can't really like pull like all the good out of that, it's really, really hard to build a wall. It's really hard to build your own foundation.
Okay, so this is a mindset shift that people, if they choose, can make for themselves. How they look at their chaos, how they look at their lives, and the experiences within them.
Yeah.
So, how can our listeners use this mindset shift to their advantage?
I really, I really think that a lot of it, to get started, I would say figure out what areas of your life feel like they're not as a 10 out of 10. If you had to rate all the things in your life and you had to kind of go through and say like, well, this feels like it could be better. This feels like it could be like more joyful or more, really more seamless, whatever that feeling is for you. Identify maybe like, let's just say your top two that you feel like you want to focus on the most, and go back and look at those areas. Why do you feel like you're in that situation? Why do you feel like it's not a 10 out of 10? And I don't mean list out all the negative things. Okay. I really truly mean like, what things have actually gotten you to where you are that's created that current existence for you. Okay. So, let's say if it's your finances, all right, not I'm broke, I'm stressed, and we have, no money. What did you spend your money on? Okay. What things of value does your money go to? What kinds of, things have you in the past had come up that you had to spend money on? And instead of kind of letting your subconscious create these stories of, like, money hates me, money is hard, money is evil, money is beautiful, like all of those things, look at the facts about your finances. Where are you currently? Where would you like to go? And what are some things that you can actually do in the interim to go from point A to point B that you haven't either done before or that you did before, but you did from such a state of negative chaos that it was kind of doomed to fail from the beginning because you weren't in the right headspace to really truly adapt and shift and move forwards going towards that. I think that a lot of the times we start to make steps forward because we truly want to create different scenarios and different outcomes. And as soon as we take one step forward, chaos that was coming already starts to creep in and it presents itself differently. And even though you're equipped to handle it, your mind says, oh, we've been here before. This is a sign of failure. Like, you better back off. Like, it's going to get worse. And then we're like, okay, I've got to shift. I've got to completely like 180 this. When in reality, looking at the facts rather than these kinds of chaotic stories that also creep in really allows us to say like, what do I need? How can I get that? What are some things that I can do to go there? And really looking at how we're shaping the questions that we're allowing ourselves to ask, because you could ask yourself, why is your bank account empty? Where'd all your money go? you know will you be broke your whole life? And I'm just making up some questions that may or may not run through people's heads at 3 a.m. But essentially, if you ask yourself those questions, your brain is going to answer them. And that's not a very pretty conversation with yourself. It's one that your subconscious will hold on to and remember. So even by learning to just ask yourself a question that your brain has to find a positive, chaotic answer to. You may not know how you're going to go out and pay, your bills for the next 30 days. But if you ask yourself, what can I do to turn this around? Your brain will start looking for answers. Not only will your brain start looking for answers, but the world will find a way to match that question and to give you those answers. Have you?
I love I love what you're doing there. I love, so it's focusing on the solution, right? Getting
Essentially,
curious,
yeah.
getting
Yeah.
curious about what's the solution to this instead of focusing on the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know the name of that principle, but
And
when you're
that's
gonna
just a shift, right?
buy that new car and then you start seeing it everywhere. Well, it's not that all of those cars randomly appeared. It's that your brain asked a question that said, huh, I like this car. And the world now says, here, let's show you more like it.
Yeah. 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 The thing that happens when you shift the way you look at things, it reminds me of one of my favorite sayings by Dr. Wayne Dyer. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you focus on solutions for the chaos that you are experiencing, to shift them from affecting you negatively to affect you positively, that's a mindset shift that can do nothing but help you move forward.
Yeah. And sometimes that's, the very minimal amount of super glue that you need to fill the cracks that, you feel
Yeah,
like are falling by the wayside.
yeah,
It really can be as simple as, instead of asking like, "Ugh, why did this happen? How can I fix it? What
yep,
can I do?" And even if
yep,
you can't come up with an answer in the moment, your subconscious starts looking for answers. The universe starts looking for answers. And all of a sudden you're on a completely different wavelength than, wow, like, why did this happen?
all right. I love this conversation. You've got me thinking, and I hope we've got our listeners thinking too. Um, there are different ways to look at things, and I would love. We end every episode, Chelsea, with our my guest sharing key takeaways, your top three tips. Let's wrap this up. Like I like to say, let's wrap it in a bow.
Yeah.
What are your top takeaways today?
My top three things that I would share would be, one, learn how to ditch those expectations of yourself and that other people may place on you. Because again, when you expect things to happen, there's only one road, which is eventual disappointment. And rather than, instead of work towards allowing things to happen and being open minded and flexible, really gives you that ability to shift into that positive chaos and much, much brighter clarity.
Mm,
Um,
I love that. Ditch the expectations.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
And
when you
then,
think about that, how many, just ask yourself the question, am I living by somebody else's expectations?
yeah.
And then what would happen if you ditch those? Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. All right.
Um, Secondly, look for solutions inside yourself and who you are, because who you are is that very person who you want to become, and it's in there, and you aren't there by accident, and you haven't gotten to where you are currently and where you want to go without all of the things that are already currently living inside of you. And so really just look for those solutions inside yourself, because when you can unlock that.
Yeah. And think about them in the most positive ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And essentially that would be what I would say, for number 3 is like, pay attention to what brings you the most, happy, and what makes you feel the most aligned, because that's not on accident. Those
Right.
are markers into the things that you should pay more attention to. And when you pay more attention to that rather than the negative part of that feelings of chaos or the other areas of your life that don't bring you that same kind of happiness and alignment, then things get better. When you
Yeah.
dive into what makes you happy and you can really pay attention to it, everything gets better.
Yeah. Do more of that. Do
Yeah.
more of that. Yeah.
It sounds so simple, but when you really can embrace it, when you can really allow like that chaos to like give you that kind of clarity of, I should do more of that. I'm going to find a way to.
Yeah.
Everything gets better.
Everything gets better. That's
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah.
Chelsea, thank you for bringing your unique perspective about chaos to our listeners today.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much for having me here.
I really appreciate your unique take on this. You got me, as I said, you've got me thinking in a couple of different ways. I'm thinking about a client I'm working with right now who can benefit from a couple of the things that you've shared with us today. So I know that there are going to be people who want to reach out and learn more from you and about you, Chelsea. So, what is the one best way for them to do that?
Essentially, I would say, contacting me via email. So you can go to my website and you can kind of click on, everything through there. Um, the website, the URL is just www.badassesunite.life. So it's BADASSES unite, UNITE.life and backslash Chels. That'll take you right there and it'll have, all the contact me information and stuff like that. And I'm more than happy to answer questions or clarifications or even just hear about your chaos, because I promise you there is a huge, huge, huge like aha moment in all of it.
That's fabulous. Thank you again for being here.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
And for those who are watching and listening today, I really appreciate that you are a part of this community. And if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave a comment, click a star. Let us know what you liked about it. And as I said at the top of the show, I love creating and sharing resources for women. Plus, as a career and life coach, I work with women to help them navigate challenging times more quickly and maybe more gracefully. So, if something in this episode resonates with you and you'd like a fresh perspective, reach out. Let's talk. Talk with Chelsea, talk with me. The links for both of us are in the show notes below. And I invite you to continue this conversation if you'd like to in my private Facebook group, the Career Transition Roadmap. And the link for that is below as well. So let's meet again here next Wednesday, as always, because you know what? I believe it's our time to thrive. So let's thrive together. Till next time, I'm Maria Tomás-Keegan, helping you turn transition into triumph.